readers, I'm Jessie Quinn from Copa Books, and welcome to Comics Corner. Today we're talking about Captain America the Winter Soldier. Oh, not the movie, the comic. Oh, not the recent comic book run, but the comic the movie draws from. Yes, that is the comic we're talking about today. Captain America was created by Joe Simon and Jack Kirby and first appeared in Captain America Comics issue 1 in 1941. This series was produced by Timely Comics, which was a predecessor of Marvel Comics. Now, the character was incredibly popular in the 1940s, but his popularity suffered a decline in the 50s, and eventually the series was canceled. But in the 1960s, Marvel Comics reintroduced the character as a missing in action soldier from World War II that had been frozen in an iceberg. The Avengers in Avengers issue 4 end up reviving the soldier, and he goes on to join their superhero team. In Captain America the Winter Soldiers Volume 1 and 2, Captain America is called in by S.H.I.E.L.D., the secret intelligence spy organization in the Marvel Universe, when the body of one of his former foes is discovered. Meanwhile, just lurking in the shadows, there is a new threat preparing to strike. Throughout both volumes, Captain America's past comes back to haunt him in unexpected ways. The first few issues of this run are aptly titled Out of Time, which describes both the building tension of the storyline and also the fact that Captain America has this incredibly wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey, fish-out-of-water backstory. Volume 1 builds the suspense slowly as Captain America tries to make sense of a series of unsettling events. Even though as a reader you're privy to more information than Cap, his confusion, his uncertainty, it's all very contagious and it leaves you feeling off kilter. With the exception of the last issue in Volume 1, which despite its ties to the plot still manages to feel like a one-shot that was shoehorned in, the slower pacing in Volume 1 really sold this first volume for me. I think these first 7 issues would have been incredibly annoying to read on a month-to-month basis, but in terms of a collection, they work really well. But what about this Winter Soldier character? Well, while the Winter Soldier is very present in Volume 1, he's just some unknown assassin that keeps getting in Captain America's way. Sure, he's a part of the mystery, but it really isn't until Volume 2 that he gets a proper introduction. And that's when we learn his backstory and his character motivations. And let me just say, love it or hate it, it's a memorable backstory. But you know who else is in the Winter Soldier Volume 2? That's right, the Falcon and Iron Man both team up with Captain America to take the Winter Soldier down in this final volume. Now, do I really need to explain who Iron Man is in this day and age? Probably not. The movies do that for me. But I do want to take a moment to talk about the Falcon, because he's a character you might not know. Now, the Falcon was Marvel's first African-American superhero. There had been black superheroes prior to the Falcon, but he was the first one from the United States and not from some country, real or otherwise, in Africa. He was created by Stan Lee and Gene Colan, and he first appeared in Captain America issue 117. The Falcon has often partnered with Captain America throughout Captain America's run in the comics, and so it makes sense for him to be in this storyline. Both him and Iron Man represent Captain America's present, his ties to contemporary times, while the villains and antagonists in this storyline very much represent Captain America's past. It's a good contrast. Also, the Falcon and Iron Man just kick ass, so why not? After the slow burn of Volume 1, the breakneck pacing of Volume 2 can feel a bit jarring. It did for me. And Volume 2 can feel a bit info-dumpy, particularly when we're learning about the Winter Soldier's backstory. It is admittedly a very small complaint, but it is a complaint I have. Really pacing. Fast, slow, do whatever you want to do as long as you do it consistently. The great thing about this run is that while yes, it helps to know that Cap spent some time as a capsicle in an iceberg at one point, it's not imperative to know anything about his time as a soldier during World War II because the comic covers that information. Also, all the characters, whether they're from Cap's present or from Cap's past, are introduced fairly well in this series, and there isn't really any confusion about his relationships with each character. My only significant complaint about the way the characters get handled is that Agent 13 seems rather defined by her role as someone's girlfriend. Yes, I understand that the comic is trying to explain that her and Captain America are now friends, and yes, I understand that these are a handful of issues in a much larger, much more complicated comic book continuity. But seriously, when the comic isn't reminding us that Agent 13 and Steve used to date, it's reminding us that Agent 13 now has someone else she's dating. She's just someone's girlfriend throughout all of this. Also, she ends up the damsel in distress more than once in this run, and yeah, that's kind of disappointing for me. Not everyone likes the Winter Soldier arc, but I personally enjoyed it. This particular premise could have gone so wrong in so many ways, and yet we're given a very solid story. The artwork is not the most memorable, but it is solid artwork. It tells the story well. And I really liked issue 11 despite the fact that it does a lot of info dumping, just because stylistically it looks so cool. If you've read The Winter Soldier Volumes 1 and 2, or you've seen the recent Captain American film and can tell me what you thought without spoiling them for anyone, feel free to do so in the comments below. Otherwise, talk to me on Tumblr. That's what it's there for.